Welcome to Big Foamy Head. We're at the downtown Flying Saucer, downtown Memphis, a stone's throw from Beale Street. And I'm joined with Linus Hall, the head brewer from the Yazoo Brewery out of Nashville, Tennessee. How you doing, Linus?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on. Like I said, on my way down here, I listened to one of your shows, and I'm really honored to be here. So y'all do a great job.
I'm always amazed when anyone listens to our show. Anyway, we're doing a show on your beers, and it's just kind of fortuitous that you're actually in town promoting your beers. I assume that's why you're here. Why are you here?
Well, the Flying Saucer has every Wednesday night features a brewery. You get to buy the beer in one of the logo glasses and keep the glass. So I've done a few of these. There's also Flying Saucers in Nashville, and it's a really good way to get the word out on your beer.
I'm pretty sure that Flying Saucers in Nashville chain. So I already said that this show would be released with an audio segment that we're going to do. What would you like to tell us about the beers? We have with us right now, this is the Pale Ale. It's an Amarillo hop ale, I believe. And this is Dos Perros. And then you also gave us a Hefeweizen and a Rye Porter.
Well, these two that we have here available in Memphis are on draft, and they're also available in bottles. The Amarillo Pale Ale, like you said, it's an American-style pale that features a pretty new variety of hops. It's called Amarillo hop. It's getting to be a very popular hop. We actually have to contract with the growers to make sure we get enough for each season. And the Amarillo hop is it's actually a wild crossbreed of a Cascade variety, which is the signature hop in Sierra Nevada Pale Ale, and a German variety. And I actually tracked down the grower, and he told me this really cool story of how they found the hop, growing wild in a field of Cascades, and had it analyzed. And they think it's probably a German, like a Tettnang or Perla, possibly.
Now, I always consider Amarillo to be like Amarillo, Texas. I understand this was Yakima Valley?
It's Yakima Valley. I don't really know why they named it Amarillo. It's they're of Hispanic descent, the people that found this hop, and Amarillo means yellow. That might have something to do with it. But no, it's not Amarillo, Texas.
Okay. I brewed with this also. What kind of malts did you add to it? It's got kind of I guess a golden orangish color.
Yeah.
It looks like pale malts.
We use a lot of English pale malts, a little bit of Munich from the Weyermann maltings, and then some Vienna, and a little bit of Belgian light caramel malt. So
Munich and Vienna are two of my favorite malts ever, and Amarillo is my favorite hop. So you got yourself a real winner in my book here.
Thank you. Yeah, I wanted to have a really drinkable pale ale that you could have 3 or 4 pints of. It is a little bit up there in the alcohol quality. It's about 6% by volume. Not quite an IPA, but the alcohol is up there.
Tell us about the Dos Perros.
Well, the Dos Perros, I've actually kind of been accused of making up this style. I came from a homebrewing background like most brewers that went pro, and this was a beer that I came up with for my sister's wedding in the middle of the summer in Mississippi, and she wanted to have a dark beer. I said, well, I'll try to make something that's dark but finishes really light and clean, and this is along the styles of what I'd call a Mexican amber. If you've ever had Negra Modelo or Dos Equis amber, it's that style. A lot of German brewers came over to the New World, in the late 1800s and settled
in Mexico.
Settled Mexico, South Texas, and tried to recreate a lot of their alt styles, their Vienna styles, using
without refrigeration.
Yeah, without refrigeration, using what they had available. And so they ended up using a lot of adjuncts as well as just basic malt. They used a lot of corn, they used a lot of rice. And that's why those styles developed right there. I'd say the Shiner Box, the Negra Modelos, that style of a darker beer but lightened with a little bit of adjuncts.
Shiner Bock always raises a lot of controversies because it's not really a bock style.
No, it's
beer.
not. It's a really lightened version of what I'd say maybe Negra Modelo is like today.
Saucer to serve this with lime, or is that something they came up with on their own?
Well, my belief is however people want to drink the beer, it's fine with me. I personally don't add any fruit to my beers. This one or the Hefeweizen. A lot of people like to, and I don't have any problem with it.
I'm always trying to get a brewer to stand up and say, "Don't ever put fruit in my beer," but they never do because obviously there's politics involved with your beer drinking.
Well, every brewer has its own, way they want the beer to be served. But I'm not going to tell somebody if they like to drink my beer with a slice of lemon in it or a slice of lime that's wrong. I'm happy they're drinking our beer, and that if you want to get the true flavor, drink it first without adding the lime, and then see what you think.
All right, we don't have it with us, but tell us about your Hefeweizen.
Oh, our Hefeweizen. This is one of my favorites. It's a great summer beer, but we brew it year-round. It's a very simple beer. It's brewed very traditionally. It's 70% wheat. We get, again, the Weizen wheat from Germany. Uses a true Bavarian Hefeweizen yeast strain, so you get that wonderful banana, clove character to it. And we're real proud of this one. Being a young brewery, we've only entered the Great American Beer Festival, I guess 2 or 3 years now in a row, and we won a gold medal for this.
Did you really?
Yeah, the first year we entered. So yeah, real proud. It's that's kind of like
amazing, actually.
For a brewery, it's kind of like winning the Kentucky Derby, and so
yeah. When you consider you're against the likes of Paul Anner and the German breweries who also entered that. So.
And there was a lot of good. Brooklyn has a great wheat beer that's won several times, and that's actually where I interned, and so it was pretty amazing to beat them out.
I read that in your bio. We've done a show on we did a show called New York State of Beer, and 2 of the beers that we had were Brooklyn, and I also ran to the Brooklyn Brewery at the music festival out in North Carolina, a Brewgrass Festival. Anyway, so you interned there.
I did. I went through a brewing program called the American Brewers Guild program, and you end up with an internship at a brewery that you can basically talk into letting you intern there. It's kind of a funny story. Garrett is the brewer master at Brooklyn. Is pretty notorious, I guess you'd say. It's a very visible figure in the craft brewing industry, and he told me he'd never take on an intern and quit calling him. And I had Brooklyn's beers about 4 or 5 years before, and was just blown away by especially one called a Dunkelweizen, which is a darker German wheat beer. So I snuck the beer out when I was doing the brewery tour, took it all the way down the subway, and ended up getting a ticket from a Metro cop, for drinking down in the subway. And I figured, I'm from Mississippi, I'm never going to be back in New York again, I'm not going to pay that ticket. Well, about the time that I was pestering Garrett into trying to let me intern there, I got a summons for an unpaid, 10-year-old unpaid ticket or whatever it was, and so I wrote Garrett, I said, look, it's your fault that I got this ticket because your beer is so good. You need to at least let me come up there and pay it in person. And so I think he got a kick out of that. And at the end of it, he pretty much told me, you're good, but I don't think I'm going to ever have another intern again.
Yeah, he likes the business of brewing. I guess he's got a new book out. But this isn't the Brooklyn Brewing Show. It's the Yazoo Brewing Show.
Yeah,
so tell me about your Sly Rye Porter.
Well, the Sly Rye Porter, again, is something, it's a variation of what I'd call a robust English porter. We add a little bit of rye grain to it. Rye is a pretty exciting malt to use in brewing because it imparts a really kind of wonderful fruity flavor that comes from the rye itself, but it also really dries out the finish. So you get kind of a peppery, grainy, spicy finish to the beer. So this is a big beer. It ends up fairly sweet, and with the rye, it helps to dry it out.
Now, is it rye wheat or is rye an entirely different grain?
Rye is an entirely different grain, and it's malted just like wheat or barley is. The difficulty with rye is it doesn't have much of a husk, and it's very sticky. And so, so you add it to your mash at your own peril because it will try to stick the mash on you, and you end up not being able to get any of the sweet sugar out of the mash.
But it does mash like a typical.
It does.
Grain.
We actually made a beer. This I didn't bring it down with us. It's just an experimental of 70% rye, fermented with a Hefeweizen yeast. It's an old German style called a Roggen beer, and
Well, that sounds good. I look forward to trying it if I ever get out to the brewery. So tell me about your tap room and brew pub.
Well, we're located in Nashville. Nashville seemed as good a place as any to open a brewery when my wife and I quit our jobs and basically dove into this. But we always had kind of aspirations of being a regional brewery, and that's hence the name Yazoo. Comes from pretty much my little home, kicking grounds down in Mississippi.
Yazoo, Mississippi.
Yeah. But the brewery is in Nashville. It's in an old car factory, kind of turn of the century feel to it. A lot of brick and exposed wood. And we have a little tasting room. It only holds about 25 people, where you can come and have a little happy hour, get some beer to take home, take a tour of the brewery.
You guys have a very exciting video on your website that I enjoyed a lot. And I did read that that was a car factory back in 1910s. It was an automobile factory.
Yeah, it has a lot of history. They produced these old wooden-spoked kind of Model T vintage cars there, but it didn't last very long, and it's had a lot of different uses. We're one of probably about 20 little tenants that are in it now.
How about food? Do you serve food?
Well, we have some fresh breads and cheeses from around the area, but it's not a restaurant.
We just had a report that craft beer has grown by 11% over the last year.
Yeah,
how are you guys doing?
Well, we're small, so big jumps are big jumps, and we had about 60% increase in sales last year. So that put us right at about right near about 4,700 barrels for the year. But
we were doing some math before the show, and
well, that's on a 10-barrel system.
Right.
So I've got me and two other brewers, cranking out about 12 to 15 batches a week.
Right. So you guys are brewing like crazy, then.
It's
15 batches a week. You must be turning your brew kettle twice a day.
3 times a day right now.
3 times a day. That's incredible. Do you have plans to expand?
Yeah, we do. We're kind of outgrowing our physical space, and we're trying to keep up with our growth. So we're looking at probably a new building that would house more of a production-style brewery, possibly keep the same location we're at for more of a small batch pub feel.
It sounds like you're in a cool area. So how far east, west, north, south have you just gone distributing-wise?
Well, up until January of this year, we were only in the Nashville area. And so all that 4,700 barrels is right around Nashville and some of the kind of bedroom communities around it. But we just started selling our beer down now in Memphis, which is where we're at now. And it's been exciting. It's neat to see people pick up on a more of a Tennessee brew versus just the local, Nashville beer.
Well, I'm very excited to have it here. It's in our local stores now, and I see that our local distributor is kind of looking at me, waiting for us to wrap up this interview, because Linus has to go to work and give away some T-shirts and all sorts of things like that. So thank you for the interview. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Very good beer. It's excellent. We love it. Thanks.